This is Remix Ignition, fresh and hot from the kitchen. That song is so dumb, but I really like the chorus, you know? A similar song to that, not like in terms of the style, but that Chillin' on a Dirt Road by Jason Aldean. That song has like a perfect chorus. It's like an incredible chorus. And he paired it up with like the worst possible verses he could muster. It's such a sad waste of a good chorus, in my opinion. Thanks for joining me on this Q&A sesh here. I wonder, like, tell me what you think. Would it be better? Do you like this format of having an unlisted video at the end? Should I just make it part of the other video? Should I make a second channel, sort of how Good Mythical Morning is Good Mythical More, where it's this other channel? I don't know. I kind of like the unlisted thing because I've never seen anyone do that, and I like to be different. All right, so question and answer. You all sent in some good questions, and I just wanted to take some time to answer them. All right, so let me pull up YouTube's Just Jay. Many, well, not many people, 2 people have asked me, have you ever thought about a podcast? I am thinking about that a lot. And I haven't done a podcast yet because I don't know what I would talk about. Maybe, see, the thing is, this channel started off, well, and it still does Myers-Briggs stuff, and I have like veered a little bit more into self-discovery, self-improvement. There's so many other things I want to talk about, and I wonder if a podcast could just be, 30 minutes to 4 hours at a time of me just talking about whatever I want. Would you listen to that? I don't know. I've also thought about doing a podcast that's related to the channel but has some dope guests on it, like maybe some other YouTubers that you would recognize. Because to be honest with you, I don't like... Well, like other MBTI, like I'm not going to have Casey Neistat, but, I don't like YouTube interviews. I just don't think that's not a good genre. It just doesn't look good. Having a Skype call on video, it's not my favorite thing. No offense to any of you who enjoy that or do it. It's just never appealed to me. So I'm never going to do that on video, he says. But yeah, Just Jay also asks, and someone else asked this too, and a few people have asked, what is the outro song? So I usually have, for a while I played one song, and then this last one, the Self-Help Guru, I played a different one. And those are actually songs that I made, so that's why you can't find them. Will I post them in their entirety? No, because, well, maybe the newer one I did. The other one that I used on most of my videos so far isn't even finished. So I just put part of it, that was finished. It's almost more like a demo. It's not that impressive because like the drums are just a virtual instrument, but the guitar and bass I did play. That's real. Oh, this is a good one. Destiny asked, favorite episode of Seinfeld? Man, this is a difficult one because there are lots of them I like. So I really like the one where they go to the Chinese restaurant. That's kind of an early one though, so the timing isn't as good as later ones, but the part at the end where the guy goes, "Cartwright," that's hilarious, where George is explaining. It's like, it's a lot more funny or funnier if you actually watch this. Another one of my favorite episodes is the one where Kramer paints over the lines in the highway to make the spacious lanes, and then at the end he spills paint thinner all over the highway. Man, Seinfeld is so good. There are some episodes that kind of flop, but when someone tells me they don't like Seinfeld, it makes me like wonder about them. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of like if someone says they don't like the Beatles, I kind of write them off. No offense to any of you who don't like either of those things, but I have a very definite taste, and Destiny also asks, she asked, was there a time in your life when you thought you had it all figured out? No. But when I was in grad school, I felt very fulfilled in the moment, and because I was on top of the world, my world being grad school, I was like, doing great. But I've never actually looked into my life in the future and thought I had it all figured out. Space Cat says, hi Space Cat, can you read from your book? I'm interested to hear it. Maybe one day I will, but I think it would be boring to you, honestly, because it's a fantasy book, and there's a lot of context. You have to learn about the world in order for later stuff to make sense, and it is a more literary book. It's actually in many ways the worst fantasy you'll ever read because it doesn't even have magic in it, and it's much more about characters. It's in some ways it's about like spiritual journeys. It's about reality, enlightenment, all that stupid stuff. JM asks, what's your Enneagram type? I don't really know. There was a day where I took a few months ago, I took the Enneagram, like 3 different Enneagram tests online, got 3 different answers. So I don't know. I think I'm going to take it again for this channel. We'll see. Pukoki. Am I saying that right? Tell me how to say this. She has a few questions. Thank you for the questions. What were your top 3 defining moments in your life? The top 3 things that come to my mind are when I got involved in theater in high school, which I've never really talked about on this channel, going to grad school, and doing this channel, honestly, is probably it's turning into one of the more defining parts of my life. All right, she asks who are my biggest influences? The Beatles, and everything influences me. I go through periods where I get very influenced by certain people and then never go back to them. Like there was a period last year where I was like obsessed with Marco Pierre White, who's a chef. And that's his name, right? Marco Pierre White. And I was just like obsessed with him, and I learned a lot from him, and I haven't really watched or read anything about him since. So a lot of people, but yeah, Beatles is the biggest one. Here's one a lot of people have asked me is, am I on social media? I'm not on social media. I tried out Facebook years ago. I tried out Twitter a couple years ago. I've never done Instagram. I don't consider YouTube to be social media. So no, I'm not on social media, and I'm gonna do a video about it entitled "Why I'm Not on Social Media" or something like that. If you could travel back to what time period, what would it be and why? Probably like the late 80s or early 90s, because I feel very nostalgic about it. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? What would it be and why? Well, no, where would it be and why? If I had, the money to do it, I think it'd be fun to be, an expat writer like Hemingway and all them. To like move to Slovenia or something and just write novels. That'd be fun. T. Anderson asks, what was your master's degree in? Ignore the dangling preposition. I think the proper way to phrase that would have been, in what was your master's degree? But then that sounds weird, doesn't it? My master's degree is in playwriting, actually. And I haven't written a play in several years now. Question, says Sam Chapman. Knowing unlimited possibilities, what would you be, do, and have? Where would you go and with who? I think the correct would be with whom. What would you spend most of your time doing? See, that's too much. To give any human unlimited possibilities is overwhelming. We need some restriction. So basically, what would my ideal life look like? My fantasy life? I think my fantasy life would be to be some kind of creator of some kind, writer, YouTuber, whatever, and just be location independent and basically go wherever I wanted and just meet a bunch of people and help people, touch people in some way, physically touch people, just walk around and put my hands all over them. I just like creating things, and I like my creations to have. I like it when people respond to what I've created, because I feel like that's a way of. In some ways, I feel like to get a bit deep here, man. I feel like I struggle to make meaningful connections with anybody, and it's really only through art and being creative that I am able to really interact in a deep emotional way with people. And I guess you could, if you want to bring it back to Myers-Briggs, I guess that's extroverted feeling, is that through these creative outlets, that's how I put out the real me, if you will. Lily asks, hi Lily, your hair is really cool, thank you, but not traditional, yeah. But you wear a shirt and tie, at least I've started to. Is that my personal style? Is it YouTube costume? Is it for your job? Those are good questions, because I am hyper aware of how I present myself on camera, and a lot of people don't realize that even if you are just being yourself on camera in your own clothes, you are a character and your clothes are the costume. And what you say, even if it's off the top of your dome, is the dialogue. I told you I went to school for playwriting, so I always think of things in terms of theater. And even this YouTube video where it's just me sitting in front of a camera and talking, this is like a form of filmmaking in a way, But as far as the clothes go, it is my style, especially the hair. I didn't do this for YouTube. But when I put on clothes for the video, I'm thinking about what I'm wearing. Even when I've just worn a t-shirt, I'm like thinking about it, because I realize that that's the costume. That's the costume design, man. D. Brown says, this is in no way a dig, but has anyone ever told you sound just like Pauly Shore? Yes, actually, this is the second time in like a month someone said that. Or not even a month, it's like the second time in a week someone said that. Tammy Main asks, why do you like Neptune so much? I don't know, because it's blue. Because it's big and blue. This isn't a question that I see right in front of me right now, but it popped in my head that I've been asked like several times over the last month if I have like Asperger's syndrome, and I find that kind of funny. Like, are you on the spectrum? No, I don't have that, and I can understand maybe why people ask me, like because I'm weird or something, but it seems to me that one of the primary markers of having Asperger's or any kind of autism or whatever is that you don't really read people or social situations very well. Like, you kind of miss stuff. That's not me at all. Like, if you saw my video, the INFJ stare, I read people like a book, man. I read social situations very fluently. And yeah, I'm weird and an outsider, but I appreciate you asking to see if I need, maybe some help. Alexandra Peskarova says, when did you learn how to play guitar? I got my first guitar when I was 10 for my 10th birthday, and I don't play as well as you would think someone who's played it for 20 years should. How do you live alone and not go crazy or lonely? I don't know. You can't. You need people. What makes you happy? I don't know. I don't really know. Sonia Lotz asked, what would life be if we could live it backward? I responded and said, you mean like Benjamin Button? And she responded, if you make peace with death, will you then fear birth? And I'm not sure if I understand the question entirely, but it made me think of, all this enlightenment and awakening stuff. And even in the Bible, in order to be saved, you must be born again. And I think in a lot of ways that's talking about if you want to awaken In some ways, you have to. It's like being born. I don't know. I'm not very good at explaining it, but I get what you're saying. I think everyone has to make peace with death in order to live. Would you then fear birth? No, because coming to peace with death is like being born. And I know I'm not really engaging the question the way it's being asked, but the way the question is being asked, I don't know how to answer it. Laura Chadwick says, what's with the exercise dread you keep mentioning? I just don't like exercising, that's all. The thing is, I actually exercised today. I did some weightlifting, I watched a bunch of inspirational, motivational videos where they show these guys who are like way too ripped, who have like all these veiny looking arms and legs, and it looks like they have some kind of issue. But it's fun to watch those though, because they really get you pumped up about exercising. My thing is, I'm vain. I'm very vain, and I want to start exercising so I don't get fat. And the thing is, I like to eat a lot, and I guess I want to exercise so that I can just eat whatever I want. A lot of those motivational exercise things had whole motivational videos about just eating. It was kind of interesting. I'm gonna butcher this name, but Korolijka Militic asks, have you heard about Dr. Elaine Aron talking about highly sensitive people? I've heard about highly sensitive people, but I've never read that book or anything. Do you have any siblings? Yes, I'm the oldest of 4. What is your manuscript about? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's a fantasy novel. Coming to a bookstore near you 20 years from now. Quoth Raven asks, what's your favorite genre-bending cover song? That's a very specific question. This is, I don't know, I'm having a difficult time. I guess maybe what it would be is I Shot the Sheriff, Eric Clapton covering Bob Marley. I mean, it's sort of genre-bending because he did more of a rock kind of reggae version. And Eric Clapton's version of that song is a really good song. It's one of my favorites. Particularly Pippin asks, what's the most moving, saddening scene in a movie you've ever seen? That's a good question. I don't know. It's very difficult for me to pick. I honestly don't think I can think of anything right now. I'm not a big movie person. I just don't watch a lot of movies. Do you ever wonder how different the world might be if INFJ was the most common type? I actually have thought about that. I'm not sure anything would get done. Can you imagine if if a bunch of INFJs were construction workers, trying to build a bridge or something? Nothing would ever get done. I'm glad that we're the least common type, to be honest. And lastly, particularly Pippin asks, do you ever feel ashamed to be part of the human race? I don't feel ashamed to be a part of it, but I often feel like the human race in general is very different from me. Galia Boy Del Rey asks, if you could be anyone in the world, who would you be? I think I'm fine being me. I don't really like myself very much, but better to stay with the devil I know. What's your favorite childhood memory? Probably Christmas time. Not any Christmas in particular, but Christmas was always great when I was a kid. Go to my grandmother's house, eat good food, be there with my cousins and open presents. Every year there would be a big present, and it was like between me and my cousins, my brothers and my cousins. It was this big deal to see who got the big present. Favorite movie? I always say A Hard Day's Night, the Beatles movie, just because I love that movie. It's so fun. Adrian Brandon asks, what idea, goal, or meaning makes you get up every morning? To be honest with you, I don't have one, and I'm kind of just floating through life right now. As uninspiring as that is, I need to get on that, man. What gives meaning to your life and to life in general? These are like sad questions. I think I live mostly to create stuff. Why do you think consciousness and self-reflection are a power and a quality that puts humanity above every other thing? Is freedom actually freeing? What is freedom? That's like a very deep thing. I'd probably have to make a whole video about that. I mean, to me, it's self-evident why consciousness and self-reflection are a power because, you know, your dog doesn't have the ability to reflect on itself. It's just in the present moment. In some ways, I would like to go back to that so I don't worry about the future or dwell on the past, but, you know, a dog also can't make a YouTube channel, so... BBDN, easy to pronounce. BBDN asks, will you ever do an ASMR video? That's like a genre I don't understand. Like, I've read about it, so I intellectually understand it, but it just doesn't appeal to me. I am very easily irritated by sound, and so the idea of doing a channel like that, it would be... I appreciate that you want me to do that, but I would never want to. What is your favorite kind of music? The Beatles. I sound like so close-minded. I like all kinds of music, but I like music that's melodic, and I like music that in the way it's recorded has elements of the different parts fighting each other. Sharon Jessen, she also asked, what is the book about? Well, to go into more specifics, it's about this young woman, and it's weird for me because I am able to, I feel like this character is very much me, and it's easier for me to express myself in a female form. I don't know why. I guess because I don't feel like I am not traditionally masculine. I mean, it's not like I'm a wafy, you know, effeminate person, but I have never really identified very strongly with traditional, like, American masculinity. And I don't think masculinity is wrong or bad, but, you know, I feel like a male hero in a fantasy novel is going to have definite traits that I don't have, and it was just easier for me to write a woman. I'm going way off the rails with this question, but basically this young woman is forced into a quest like any other fantasy novel where she has to save her sister, and basically through it she learns that you have no control over your life and you can do everything you can to put it back together and it won't make it okay. It's really lighthearted stuff. I need to come up with a better elevator pitch if I'm ever going to sell this thing. Antonia M asked, oh, she's the one who also asked what the outro music was. The one I usually use, yeah, it's a song I made. She also asked, have you watched any videos of Jordan Peterson, because he made the Big 5 test that I took. And yeah, I like Jordan Peterson. I watch his channel a lot. All right, Luis asks, what do you think of art? Any type of art catch your attention? Favorite painter or painting? I do like art. I live near Washington, D.C., where there's a lot of free museums, so I've seen a lot of art in my day. And I like, you know, more realistic art, and I like abstract art. I like it all. I think the only kind of art I don't really like is the abstract kind that is just like trying to be purposefully not beautiful, where it's just like, because there's some abstract art that doesn't look like anything, but it's beautiful looking, and then there's other abstract art where it's like they're just trying to make something that looks awful. I will say there's a painting in the National Gallery of Art that I am fond of a guy ice skating, and he's like this. I'll show it here probably. And then I saw there was a meme once where it used that picture and said, "Word to thy mother." Elizabeth DePaulis asked, favorite literary classics authors? I really like Steinbeck. East of Eden is one of my favorites. And I also love Donna Tartt, who came out with The Goldfinch a few years ago, won the Pulitzer Prize. She has written a couple other books, and another good one she wrote is The Secret History. Erica Mardones asks, Are there other MBTI types you find you mesh well with? I'm not good at typing people. The other thing is, it's easy. Well, other INFJs I've met are very easy to get along with. It's easy for me to type ENFPs also, which is kind of stereotypical for an INFJ to say, but they stand out to me, and tend to get along with them. What are your opinions on drugs, namely those used as a tool for spiritual enlightenment? Also curious as to your opinion on psychiatric drugs. I've never taken psychiatric drugs, but I'm not like morally opposed to them. When it comes to like psychedelics for spiritual enlightenment, I'm not sure that I would ever try them just because I'm afraid of doing things that are illegal. However, I don't think that there's anything morally wrong with taking a psychedelic. I do think that, though, society in general can't be trusted with good things. And so while some, responsible people like maybe you and me could probably handle psychedelics well, there are a lot of people who are just stupid and would ruin it for the rest of us. And maybe that's why it's illegal. I don't know. But yeah, I've never done drugs. I've never even tried marijuana. I've only been offered it once. Haley Wayers asked, and a lot of people have asked this, why is one section of your wall orange right there? It's actually, because of the lighting, it looks orange. It's actually more like pencil yellow. It's because one time I thought I was gonna paint this room yellow, and I got like a sample so you can paint a section to see how it worked. I painted it, realized I didn't like the color, and then it never finished it, never painted over it, so that's why it looks like that. Anna asks, I started observing myself and realized when someone I'm talking to is being positive, I automatically start being negative, and when someone is being negative, I start being positive. Or all INFJs like that. I do find that impulse sometimes to play the devil's advocate, but I think maybe it's because we see all sides of something, and when we see someone who doesn't see all sides of it, we just want to point out that there are other sides, Marion asks, if one of your subscribers happened to recognize you in real life, what would you do? I'd be kind of surprised, since this channel is very small, and so if one of the 6,000 of you happen to run into me in real life, that'd be something, man. Justina asks, can you do a video on making sense of the past and moving on? Yeah, I could do that. That's actually something I've thought about. Candace asks, what's your favorite song or band at the moment? If you don't have any, then she recommends checking out The Main. My favorite song at the moment is Band on the Run. The organ solo in the middle of Band on the Run, or the synthesizer solo, whatever it is, it's like crack to me. I love that synthesizer solo. Resonate asks, why do people believe there are good people and bad people? What purpose does this have? Yeah, I grew up being taught that people were inherently bad and that they had to try to be good. And I don't really like that belief. There are other people who say people are inherently good. I don't believe that either. I think people are neutral, and then they choose to be good or bad. And it's easier to be bad because being bad is basically being selfish. But why do people believe that someone becomes bad or good? I mean, you can't blame them, can you? If someone acts bad long enough, it just makes sense to say that person's bad, I can't trust them. But everyone's capable of everything. Don't ever forget that. Her Modern Life asks, would you rather play a game with someone more or less skilled than you? Would your answer be different if others were watching? Are you comfortable going out to restaurants, movie theaters by yourself? I like to play games with people where it's sort of like 50-50 if I could win or lose. Because I'm not terribly competitive, but I don't like to just lose all the time. And I feel bad if I win all the time. Are you comfortable going to restaurants or movie theaters by yourself? Yeah, I actually prefer that. I don't prefer it, but I enjoy it. Well, that was a lot of questions, and I thank you all for asking them. I apologize if I didn't get to your question. If you still have a question that's burning that I didn't get to, post it again, and Hope maybe one day I'll get to it. I make no promises, though. Thank you so much for watching this long A-word video. It's people like you who have watched, who first of all clicked on this unlisted video and then watched all the way to the end. You people are the coolest and the most attractive of all my subscribers, and perhaps of all the people on YouTube. You're incredible, and all the other fun stuff. I hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you again on Sunday, probably. Peace out, homies. I'm gonna go listen to some R. Kelly and Jason Aldean.